You cried all night long and woke up feeling like the tears have dried, but the pain remains. There's a promise that can renew your soul at this very moment. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Psalm 35. Today you're going to discover that God is already preparing your dawn. I know there are nights when you lie down feeling like there's no strength left to continue, as if darkness were eternal. But I want you to hear these words like a whisper from God's heart. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Psalm 35. It's not just a distant promise. It's a reality He's already preparing while you rest. Even when your soul seems exhausted and the silence of dawn echoes louder than any word, there's a hope that remains firm. Maybe you've cried alone, questioning if God really sees your tears, if He understands the anguish you carry in your chest. I want you to know that every dark night you face is just the prelude to a new beginning He's already weaving. The pain that today seems to define your story doesn't have the final word. Hope does. God is working in silence, preparing comfort even before the sun rises, transforming your affliction into an opportunity for renewal. Just remain firm until light dawns inside your heart. I deeply desire that you feel this promise like a warm embrace in the cold of dawn. May you understand that you don't need to pretend to be okay when you're broken. You don't need to smile when you feel like crying. God honors your tears. He respects your pain and never minimizes what you're going through. It's a prayer to renew strength, even when you think there's nothing left inside you to be renewed. May you discover today that the joy He promises isn't fragile or superficial. It's deep, it's lasting, it's capable of coexisting with the scars you carry. May you understand that being broken doesn't mean being abandoned. Being hurt doesn't mean being rejected. And in the morning that's coming, whether literal or spiritual, may you find not just relief, but a new strength that's born exactly from the place where before there was only suffering. Because God specializes in transforming endings into beginnings, and your story still has beautiful chapters to be written. There are moments when you feel completely invisible, as if your struggles were too small to deserve heaven's attention. But listen to this truth that echoes from God's throne. You know my sitting down and my rising up. You understand my thought afar off. Psalm 139:2. No tear escapes the Father's gaze. Every silent sigh is heard. Every heavy thought is known by the one who dwells in secret. Even when you feel abandoned by the world, He is present, sustaining in silence. How many times have you wondered if God really notices when you struggle to sleep? When life's weight seems crushing? When loneliness screams louder than any prayer? I want you to know that every night when sleep doesn't come, every moment when you feel lost, everything is noticed by the God who knows you by name. His comfort doesn't depend on eloquent words or your ability to perfectly explain what you feel. He surrounds you with love even when you can't feel it, holds you when you don't have strength to hold yourself. My cry today is that you understand that God sees the invisible and hears what no one else perceives. When you feel like no one understands your journey, when it seems your pain is too unique to be comprehended, remember that He knows every detail of your story. He doesn't abandon you even when you want to give up. On the contrary, He carries you when you can't walk alone. It's a prayer for difficult moments that whispers, "You are not alone. You never were." May you feel today the presence of this God who dwells in both cries and silences, in both victories and defeats. May you discover that being seen by Him is enough, even when the world seems to ignore you. And may this certainty of being known, understood, and loved exactly as you are become the firm foundation upon which you can build each new day. Because there's someone who never takes His eyes off you, who never tires of caring, who never gives up loving. Maybe you grew up believing you needed to be perfect to experience joy, that battles were signs that something was wrong with your faith. But Jesus said something revolutionary. "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. Not as the world gives do I give to you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid." John 14:27. The true joy he offers isn't the absence of struggles, but the certainty that he is with us in the midst of them. You don't need to wait for life to become perfect to experience his peace. Prayer reminds us of a truth the world doesn't teach, that you can have peace in the midst of chaos, rest in the middle of battle, hope in the middle of the storm. His presence transforms the impossible into possible, and what's broken into something beautiful, in a unique way. It's not about denying pain or pretending it doesn't exist. It's about discovering that God comforts the heart even when circumstances haven't changed. Those who cling to him find strength where there was no more strength, and hope where the heart had already given up. May you understand today that the joy that springs from God's presence is different from any temporary happiness. It's born not from the absence of problems, but from the certainty that you don't face anything alone. It's a joy that can coexist with longing, that can shine even amid tears, that remains firm even when everything around shakes. It's discovering that God's strength is perfected in your weakness, that his love grows exactly in the places where you feel most vulnerable. May this supernatural peace become your constant companion, not depending on external circumstances, but anchored in the presence of the one who never changes. May you find in this true joy not an escape from reality, but a new perspective on it. And may each day you rediscover that being with God is enough. He is enough, even when nothing else makes sense. Because the joy he gives isn't fragile. It's deep, lasting, and capable of sustaining even the most weary heart. There are days when getting out of bed is already an act of faith, when every movement seems to require courage you're not sure still exists. But God knows the exact weight of what you carry. The word reminds us, "But those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint." Isaiah 40:31. Even without energy, he visits you with courage. Even when everything seems repetitive and meaningless, his spirit gives you new breath. I know sometimes you feel guilty for not having more energy, for not being able to be the strong person everyone expects you to be. I want you to know that God isn't disappointed with your fragility. He draws near to it. When you feel you've failed for being exhausted, he whispers that it was he who carried you through the hardest roads. You're not alone in this journey. You never were. And even when you don't feel him, it was he who sustained every step you managed to take. And if I could remind you of something today, it would be this: your strength doesn't need to come from you. You don't need to pretend to have energy when you're exhausted. You don't need to smile when you feel like crying. You don't need to be strong when you're broken. God honors your humanity. He embraces your vulnerability and finds glory exactly in the moments when you feel weakest. It's a prayer to renew strength that recognizes sometimes the greatest strength is admitting we have none. May you feel today this supernatural renewal that's independent of your circumstances or natural energy. May you discover that you can fly with borrowed wings, run with breath that isn't yours, walk with strength that comes from outside. And may each new day be an opportunity to experience this grace that sustains you, this mercy that renews every morning, this love that never gives up on you. Because you're stronger than you imagine, not because of who you are, but because of who lives in you. Sometimes you look at your scars and wonder if they serve any purpose other than reminding you of pain. But there's a precious promise hidden in the Word, and we know that all things work together for good to those who love God. Romans 8:28. Every tear shed becomes water for future promises. Every night of mourning prepares the soil for a new dawn. The marks you carry today will be testimony of healing tomorrow. God transforms despair into hope, nights into new beginnings, and tears into purpose. Maybe you've felt guilty for suffering, as if pain were a sign of weakness or lack of faith. I want you to understand that God doesn't waste even the deepest pains. He uses them to reveal his glory in ways that only those who've walked through the valley can understand. Nothing is lost when placed in his hands. Not grief, not longing, not silence. Every wound you carry has the potential to become a source of healing for other broken hearts. I deeply desire that you see your struggles not as punishment, but as preparation. May you understand that the pain that seemed meaningless is being transformed into purpose in the hands of the God who makes all things new. Your tears weren't in vain. They watered seeds of compassion, empathy, a faith that's only born in adversity's fire. It's a prayer to overcome pain, by recognizing it wasn't the end of the story, but the beginning of a new chapter. May you find hope in the certainty that God is writing a beautiful story through your journey, even in chapters that seem too dark to make sense. May your scars become a source of strength, not shame. And may you discover that pains aren't in vain. They're seeds of faith and testimony that will one day bloom into gardens of hope for other hearts who need to know it's possible to survive. It's possible to heal. It's possible to start over. Because the story God is telling through you is more beautiful than you imagine. There are moments when God's ways seem incomprehensible, when you can't see purpose in what you're living. But Isaiah reminds us, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, nor are your ways my ways, says the Lord." Isaiah 55:8. Even if you don't understand God's ways, you can trust His plans. He works even in darkness, even in silence, even when it seems nothing is happening. Faith is remembering that heaven continues acting even when the soul is silent. I know sometimes you're tempted to give up because you can't see the complete picture, because waiting seems too long, because answers don't come in the time you'd like. I want you to know that the process may be painful, but it's full of purpose. God is working in dimensions your eyes can't reach, weaving threads you don't even imagine exist. And His faithfulness doesn't depend on your strength, but on His unconditional love that never fails. My heart today cries for you to find peace in uncertainty, rest in waiting, hope in the invisible. May you understand that not needing to understand everything doesn't mean you're lost. It means you're being invited to trust. It's like a child who doesn't understand how the father builds the house, but knows a safe home is being prepared. God is building something beautiful in your life, even when you can only see scattered materials. May this trust in God's invisible process become your anchor in stormy days. May you discover you can rest even without understanding, have peace even without answers, walk even without seeing the destination. And may each day you be reminded that you're in the hands of a God who never makes mistakes, who never delays, who never forgets you, because His plans are better than your boldest dreams, and what He's preparing surpasses anything you could imagine. Sometimes you feel spiritually dry, as if God were distant, as if the sacred had been lost in routine. But Jesus taught us, "Assuredly, I say to you, inasmuch as you did it to one of the least of these my brethren, you did it to me." Matthew 25:40. God reveals Himself even in the aroma of coffee you drink thoughtfully in the morning, in the bird's song you hear at the window, in the gentle touch of wind on your face. When the heart is sensitive, everything becomes a sign of His presence. Maybe you thought you needed to be in a church or follow specific rituals to find God, but He also dwells in everyday simplicity. Gratitude transforms the ordinary into extraordinary, the common into sacred. May your routine become an altar where every gesture is silent praise, preparing lunch, working, talking, walking. God's presence isn't only in great miracles, but also in subtle details that only faith can perceive. May you feel today this spiritual sensitivity reawakening in your heart. May you rediscover God in simple gestures, unpretentious conversations, moments of pause that previously went unnoticed. You don't need great events or supernatural experiences to connect with Him, just a grateful heart that recognizes His presence in everything. It's discovering that the sacred isn't far away. It's here now, in this moment. May your entire life become a silent prayer, where every breath is gratitude, every step is worship, every word reflects the love dwelling in you. May you find God in everyday small things and discover He was there all along, waiting to be noticed, waiting to be celebrated. And may this perception transform your ordinary days into extraordinary ones. because any moment can be holy when lived in the presence of the One who made all things beautiful. You know, each day is a spiritual battle, even when no one notices. Paul taught us, "Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil." Ephesians 6:11. Prayer is also a cry for spiritual preparation, wearing righteousness when the world invites you to shortcuts, putting on peace when everyone chooses fights, raising faith's shield when doubt screams loudest. May your attitudes reveal character, even when no one is watching. I know it's hard to maintain integrity when it seems everyone around has chosen easier paths, when your honesty is seen as naivety, when your love is interpreted as weakness. I want you to know that God sees every right choice you make in silence. Every moment you choose good, even without an audience. May faith be visible not just in Sunday words, but in daily choices, in traffic, at work, in relationships. And if I could encourage you today, it would be this: keep being light, even when the world prefers darkness. Life with God is a silent combat where integrity is worth more than approval, and obedience weighs more than applause. You're being forged in character through every test, molded in divine likeness through every right choice. Don't give up being who God called you to be, even when it seems costly. May you dress spiritually to face each day knowing you don't fight alone. May you find strength in the certainty that every act of love, every gesture of kindness, every word of hope echoes in heaven as praise. And may your entire life be a silent testimony that it's possible to live differently, love differently, choose differently. Because the world needs to see Jesus through you. And this happens not on great stages, but in small choices of each day. Maybe you look at your days and wonder if they really matter, if your simple tasks have any eternal value. But Colossians teaches us, "And whatever you do, do it heartily, as to the Lord and not to men." Colossians 3:23. Every meeting you attend, every decision you make, every unexpected encounter can be sacred ground when guided by God. May the Holy Spirit inhabit work corridors, coffee breaks, evening silence. I know sometimes you feel like just another face in the crowd, as if your life were too small to make a difference. I want you to understand that even in the rush, it's possible to walk with your heart anchored in His presence. When fear knocks at your door, may courage come from above. When doubt whispers lies, may faith be louder. May everything you do reflect who He is in you. Every project, every conversation, every gesture. I deeply desire that you consecrate this day and all its details to divine direction. May you live with the awareness that no task is too small when done for God's glory. Your emails can be love letters. Your meetings can be moments of prayer. Your casual conversations can be seeds of hope. It's discovering you can transform any environment just by being there with your heart turned toward God. May every hour of this day be lived with purpose and presence, knowing you're not just fulfilling obligations, but participating in God's kingdom on earth. May you be light in dark places, salt in tasteless places, hope in discouraged places. And may at day's end you rest knowing every moment was offered as worship. Every breath was lived as prayer. Every gesture was love in action. There's something powerful in praising God before seeing the answer, in declaring His goodness, even when circumstances haven't changed. Habakkuk declared, "Yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will joy in the God of my salvation." Habakkuk 3:18. There's power in exalting God even before seeing the solution. Praising in the middle of waiting is declaring the miracle has already begun. He transforms mourning into dancing, desert into garden, silence into direction. Maybe you learned to only give thanks when things go right, to only praise when life is easy. I want you to discover the power of faith that sings even at dawn, that declares victory even before the battle ends. The joy He gives isn't fragile or dependent on circumstances. It's firm, deep, and eternal. It's a joy born from certainty of who God is, not what He does. May your entire life become a song of gratitude. even in moments of silence. May you discover that praising before the answer is an act of faith that moves heaven. That trusting before the miracle is a declaration that you know God's character. You don't need to wait for everything to be resolved to start thanking. You can start now. You can start here. You can start just as you are. May you allow your soul to breathe again. Sometimes, healing begins not in action but in stillness, in allowing your tears to fall without shame, in letting God hold the pieces you're tired of carrying alone. There's no weakness in being broken. There's wisdom in surrendering what you can no longer fix. The presence of God is not reserved for the strong. It's revealed most tenderly to the weary. And maybe what you call broken, God calls ready. May today you feel this supernatural joy sprouting from your heart. Regardless of what you're facing, may you sing even in silence. God is faithful, and though I cry today, He will make me smile tomorrow. And may this certainty become your life's soundtrack, a melody of hope that echoes not only when everything is well, but especially when you need to remember that the one who promised is faithful, because the joy that comes in the morning is already on its way, and you can start celebrating it now. If this prayer touched your heart, if you felt God whispering directly to your soul, know it wasn't coincidence. He was speaking to you through every word, healing wounds you might not even know existed. Write your prayer request down below. Tell me what's weighing on your heart. I want to intercede for you. Were your tears ignored by heaven? Or are they watering the garden of your renewal? Did the night last too long? Or is your morning being born right now? Today you discovered there's no pain too great for God's comfort, no night too dark for His light. Subscribe to this channel to receive prayers that speak directly to your soul. Activate the bell so you don't miss any word of hope God has prepared for you. Follow the next prayers because your healing journey is just beginning, and the joy He promised is already on its way.